Okay, awesome.
So I wanted to take a second to just introduce our speaker today. I'm very honored and excited to have Haley Fitzpatrick here, and say a little bit about Forging Fridays. I've had the honor and the challenge of hosting an annual conference since I came to Elon University and to oversee the Center for Design Thinking. And over the years, we realized how incredibly hard that can be for everyone to come to this place, to have the money, time, and resources. And what if we reimagined what that could look like to get together virtually across places and communities to learn from each other? I've also had the honor of learning from so many incredible communities where I see these interlinkages, but we're not often together to learn from each other. And so, like relating complex systems to design, the RSD community and the FDHE community and the DRS community. And I was like, what if I could bring some of our friends and colleagues from these worlds together to learn more about the work we're doing and to think about how we can enact some of those amazing practices? And I was honored and overjoyed to meet Haley Fitzpatrick as an external like reviewer and a consultant on her PhD work a couple of years back. Haley does amazing systemic design research. Her work is focused on community-based transformation, and she's especially focused on helping communities move towards processes of regeneration. Right now, she is the associate director at Cobalt in Portland, Maine. And there she develops place-based experiential learning journeys that are focused on bioregional regeneration and on complex systems change work. It's fascinating. She also works as a data visualization consultant, and she has been partnering with food systems for a long time in regenerative agricultural organizations in Hawaii, where she lives right now. And I'm going to share a link to some of her work because I can't help it as she begins to talk. But other than that, I think I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Danielle, for that wonderful introduction. And hello, everyone. It's so great to see you all. Thank you so much for joining today. And yeah, I guess if anyone is feeling compelled to, if you want to just put in the chat maybe where you're coming from today, what brings you here, and what do you think about when you think of the word emergence? And we can just, yeah, have those chats rolling in as we talk a little bit today. Let's see, I can share the screen. Okay. All right. So can everyone see the screen okay? Yeah?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about everyday emergence. What does that mean? And how that can help us kind of practice pluralism in the very uncertain and overwhelming times that we're facing today. Globally in our day-to-day lives, it's just so much every day that we're asked to hold. Um, so I wanted to share some experiences of how I've been exploring this in Hawaii, where I live currently. And I've been here about a year now, and it's been a truly just transformative experience. And a learning journey in and of itself on how to engage deeply and intentionally with place, with different cultures, blending in this incredible island archipelago in the middle of the Pacific. And yeah, it's just overwhelmingly incredible the connections social ecologically here, etc. And there's a wonderful phrase that people in Hawaii say, like, let's talk story, which just means this kind of casual, slow-paced, kind of meandering conversation that focuses on building relationships. So I want to talk story today about how we can try to practice pluralism, especially under these, yeah, heightened conditions of uncertainty, and how embracing emergence in the everyday can help us facilitate that goal. So, what is pluralism? As Danielle mentioned, in my PhD research at the Oslo School of Architecture and Design, I really focused on how we can practice methodological pluralism through systemic design, research and practice. And what does that really look like, right? It's not just this kind of, oh, let's throw a bunch of different perspectives, methods, and whatnot together, but it's really about this active engagement with difference, with contradictions, with tensions, and that requires us to continuously question how we relate with each other, ourselves, our assumptions, all the things that, we share in this world. Um, so this required developing a kind of, meta awareness in the sense of, not just understanding what we know, but how we know what we know. So that's really this kind of, you know, thinking about multi-modes of reflexivity and how we can have an analytical or an embodied or relational or situational understanding. Um, of different perspectives and phenomena that emerge. And it's more about, staying in tune with how those kind of inputs interact, conflict, or evolve over time. So pluralism is really gaining a lot of traction in design research and systemic design and other, social science and everyday fields, but it's really hard to actually do that in practice. And I think a real kind of key issue that I've, learned through trying that myself is that it's really hard to engage in the unknown unknowns when we really try to engage with difference and the tensions and contradictions. We want to try to simplify. It's in our kind of this reductionist worldviews that we've been trained to think about, but it's not helping us because it's just avoiding the uncertainty there. So, we are, and it's also part of our systemic issues structurally. We're pressured to resolve tensions before they really have had time to unfold. And there's this pressure to try to stabilize complexity too quickly. And that just collapses those interactions that pluralism really depends on. Um, so, it's this question of like, how do we stay open in the presence of difference without even really trying to understand it first? Um, so this is something that's really been kind of on my mind is like, well, how do we engage with the emergence to really embrace that uncertainty and letting go in the everyday, in the day to day? Um, so I thought we could watch a short, kind of 5-minute clip of, hopefully this works, um, of a surfer, Jonathan Melendrez, from Mexico, an amazing longboarder. And you'll see later on in the talk that surfing is a really big part of my life. And so this is a little bit of a way that we can maybe think about engaging with emergence. So when you watch this short clip, I invite you to really focus on how the surfer is engaging with the different waves that he's riding. So let's see. Can you guys hear in the visual? Yeah, okay.
Es como una liberación de pensamientos, de cosas que tal vez no tienen caso que estés como dándole vueltas, ¿no? A eso que traes. Lo veo así como un sentimiento que es difícil de explicar, pero es bonito de sentir.
Right. So just want to open up to the audience. Yeah, anyone have any reflections on what they saw, what kind of came up for them, how the surfer was engaging with the wave, responding to it? Anyone want to share a couple reflections? No one thought that was
I can
beautiful?
share my reflection. Nice to see
Okay.
everyone. I am Astrid Flores, senior graphic designer working for RTI, and I knew about Elon. I didn't introduce myself previously, sorry. I knew about the Forging Fridays because RTI and Elon had together a lecture about AI. I don't know the title, but this video for me was impacting because not only I could see the surfer relating to the action of a vast environment, but what impacted me the most is respecting how the person interacted with others.
Hmm.
In a way, it also makes me feel when I was in a bowling league with my dad a long time ago, and there are some rules that you have to wait. I guess when the right person goes, the same like when we're driving. So, like the four-way stops is like very confusing. But if people follow the rules, we can have an order. So I like that. I'm pretty sure surfers have their culture and respect each other to be in the moment. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful reflection. Yes. It's absolutely a really big part of it is this respect and patience and, abundance mindset that there are waves for everyone and you don't need to be um, greedy, although that's not everyone follows those
Yeah.
rules. But Yeah, any other reflections, even just kind of how you felt watching it, you know? Is this something that you've seen before or yeah.
There's some notes in the chat box as well. One person said that they noticed the goal of trying to stay calm amidst all of the turbulence and change.
Mm,
Thinking about how someone who doesn't know how to swim um,
yeah,
would be tossed around by the waves, but a surfer is able to use their know-how to move in the moment.
amazing. Yeah, it is this reaction, response, adaption all in this constant real time. We had a question from Marion or a hand.
Hi, Marion. I'm in Cambridge. I have always seen surfers on TV stationary on the board. And
Mm,
so to see him almost kind of I was gonna say dancing, but definitely moving from one part of the board to another really gave meaning to the word longboard. But I had never really appreciated that there is the ability to really move, and that movement is like a communication with the wave.
beautifully said. Yes, it's absolutely, yeah, this communication, this relationship, a dialogue. And yeah, I love the way you said that. Um, yeah, great reflections. Maybe we can transition a bit to the next slide. Okay, we already did that. Oops, sorry, technical issue here, trying to get it to go back to full screen. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, what you had just said, Marion, is a fantastic like segue into exactly this dialogue and exchange that a surfer has with a wave. And, there's this philosopher who's also a surfer called Aaron James, and he kind of calls this concept adaptive attunement. So it's this ability and capacity to like remain perceptually, bodily, relationally aware and responsive to a constantly changing environment like a wave. And we can think about there's this pluralistic way of kind of making those decisions in real time. You have this, mind kind of analytical approach of thinking of all the, swells and tides and winds. And there's a lot of, calculations behind that you've, developed over time to pattern recognition. And then when you're actually on the wave, you're sensing all these kind of subtle shifts and where you need to adjust your body weight, speed up, slow down, do certain movements. And that is really kind of connected to this broader relational attunement. So you have to completely let go of any control you have. You have no idea what this wave is going to be. Every wave is different. Um, every single part of the wave and movement along it is different. You really have no idea what's coming. You can only react in real time. So it's just a great way to think about this kind of relational practice of how we make decisions in uncertainty. So, myself, over the past year, I've been living on Oahu in Hawaii. And I moved here after my PhD to be closer to my sister who lives here. And, I entered this space with this very deep awareness of that I was coming into a place that has its own histories, its own traumas, deep land sea based relationships, cultural ways of knowing that I never was a part of before. And so I was very intentional about, from the beginning and about how I let the kind of relationships with place, with people, with work, with surfing, really unfold over time, and trying to be really accountable in how I participated in that process. Um, and I really tried to, make decisions in a way that, yeah, I'm never going to have full clarity on anything. I'm trying to stay with that uncertainty and the discomfort around that, and trying to really pay attention in the moment, how to act, when to wait, when to persist, when to let go. And I really challenged myself to not have any expectations of what this life here would be, to try to really see this as a way to say I will try to respond and embrace with whatever comes my way. And that's really, yeah, it's been a wonderful journey and kind of understanding that process from surfing and really developing a relationship with this wave near my home, and going there every opportunity I can, just learning the moods and personalities, and really developing this very indescribable kind of connection to water that is moving through energy from some tsunami or tidal wave 3,000 miles away that has produced this wave, and now it's arriving here on the beach and I get to surf it. Like, it's just mind blowing, the gratitude for that. But that's not just in surfing, but how I was trying to kind of connect with people and relate with people. And community work days are a huge part of the culture here on island. Whereas different organizations, such as the Middle Picture, that's with Kaala Farms, this cultural learning center in the town where I'm living. And it's this wonderful kind of third space, bridging space, where they invite all different walks of life, different communities to come together through shared work, through often in the taro fields, which is a very important native plant that has been cultivated for generations here, and the whole practice around taking care of those plants in the loki fields is really deeply embedded with these Hawaiian concepts of pilina, which is like deep relationship building, and kuleana, this kind of deep responsibility we have to steward the places that we live in. So all of that was very emergent. And recently this has also kind of led to different opportunities to work with food systems and developing these disaster response tools for farmers, and kind of visualizing the different social, ecological, political impacts around if a disaster hits Hawaii. How can we respond? What are the kind of functional gaps in the system? So it's really, applying the kind of, more professional work that I've developed, but those opportunities only emerged from kind of relating to place in this way. And we just had an enormous flooding disaster the past 2 weeks that has wreaked havoc on our communities. So yeah, just all of these things are very interconnected in this kind of, we can only respond to what's really emerging in front of us. So I've also really found this book to be so enlightening, and this is a amazing work by Dr. Manulani Alui-Meyer. And she is a Native Hawaiian scholar and works in the field of Indigenous epistemology, and it's what she calls role in worldwide awakening. And yeah, if anyone needs a book to read, this is absolutely amazing. You should put it on your list. She also did a whole workshop series, kind of going through different parts of the book, and you would come and bring something that you were wanting to work on in a practice. And yeah, it was just really great. But a key aspect of her book in here is holographic epistemology. So this is kind of what she refers to as native common sense, or a relational integrative way of knowing in which mind, body, and spirit operate all together, and that knowledge that emerges through the relationships with place and other and the systems we are a part of. And really kind of seeing that pluralism is the understanding that kind of deepens through those reactions. So, and like a hologram, right? You can use that to see different things from different angles. And yeah, there's this really nice chart that I really like, where she kind of shows that many different peoples and cultures have thought about this relationship between mind, body, and spirit. It's an ancient way of kind of conceptualizing how we know across cultures, across time. And she really highlights how we think about subjectivity and objectivity in the way that subjectivity is really kind of a maturation of objectivity. There's a time component to that, which I find really wonderful and beautiful, because we often kind of see subjectivity and objectivity as these contradicting, opposing parts, but she sees it as just an evolution, this process of growth, and subjectivity being that kind of matured state of mind, because you understand that there's all these different layered ways of knowing that come together. So I just think that's really a wonderful way to think about it in relationship to each other. And you can kind of see even how, for example, in Hawaiian, the Hawaiian word for knowledge, ike, also means to see, and it's a spiritual kind of revelation component. So there's no distinction with Ike. By body, mind, and spirit is all one. So that's a lot of kind of things I'm thinking about right now. I've been so inspired by this book, so inspired by just the kind of the opportunity I've had to really engage with this place. And so I think in diagram form. I'm a visual thinker, so I've been thinking a lot about how we can try to make sense of some of these ideas, perhaps. So I'm just kind of offering this as a little provocation, nothing polished, but just thinking about, how we can try to connect the kind of, if we need to stay with difference under uncertainty to actually enact pluralism, in Meyer's way of kind of plural ways of knowing, how do we really do that in practice? So if we think back to the surfer and the adaptive attunement of like constantly relating with a changing environment, um, that's that's basically the mind, body, spirit working together in unison in a kind of complete pluralistic state. Even if they are contradictory, they are working as a symbiotic entity. And when this adaptive attunement capacity is present, when we're in that state, it's a way that helps us show up in how we engage with emergence. So not as a method, but more like letting go of control, how we can hold multiple truths, how we can make decisions under uncertainty, how we can sense patterns and timing, when to act, when not to act. And all of that, I think, is so rooted in this practice of establishing trust in ourselves and others, and building that intuition muscle that we all have, but we tend to silence it because it's not seen as necessarily like kind of evidence-based approach to making decisions. So I think, all of those components can then help us think about design, right? If we think about, okay, we need to have this like base layer of, you know, sort of being an emergent state to then even think about how we make design decisions, staying with difference, like, for example, resisting to try to align everyone in their agreements during a workshop process, or letting interventions really emerge from the pluralistic conditions rather than trying to pre-assign them, or, you know, continuously challenging our roles, authorities, and responsibilities, and seeing that as like a recalibration process during a design process. You know, nothing is static. So thinking about really kind of how those things all interconnect. But yeah, just some initial thoughts here. Um, but I'd love if we have, yeah, it looks like we have some time to discuss this a bit more with each other. So I'd love for you, we're gonna break out into pairs, just for a few minutes. And um, oops, wait, where did my screen go? Uh, Sorry, let me just try to get my screen back. Um, Apologies, one second. All right. So, yeah, I was thinking we could break out into pairs and just think of a moment when you felt deeply in this kind of adaptive attunement, through that mind body spirit connection, when you were trying to make decisions in uncertainty or responding fluidly to a situation, without trying to force it, without trying to control it. It can be anything simple from just taking a walk with your dog and experiencing the world around you, or it could be in a much more complex situation at work. So just briefly kind of share your example with your partner and then discuss a little bit, what were you kind of sensing through that experience that maybe you weren't normally paying attention to? And what were you actively aware of when you weren't trying to control the outcome of that experience? And then what was really uncertain and still really hard, but you stayed with it anyway. You didn't try to resolve it. You didn't try to understand it. You just accepted that I don't know, and it's okay. Um, so maybe I can have Danielle help me just set up the breakouts in pairs, and we can do that for a little bit. And I can put this in the chat too, so you can have this um, as a reminder.
I've opened the rooms and Ella very kindly helped type the prompts into the chat for us. And so if you
Oh,
feel
great.
ready, then you can
Amazing.
jump in and explore the questions that she's prompted. How long do we have? 5 minutes, six,
Let's
seven, eight.
do 10 minutes because these will probably take a little bit for folks to kind of explain it to each other. So we'll come back at 8:50 and then we'll have time to kind of share a little bit our experiences. Okay? Awesome. Um, So it looks like we're just, okay, everyone. Oh, did you find a room, Mac? Maybe you're frozen. Cool. Um, oh, it looks like there's 3 and 5 and three
Yep,
and six.
because we had two people that were in rooms by themselves, so I was moving them around.
Okay,
Um,
perfect.
and we had people not join rooms, so there might be a few small groups.
That's okay. Yeah.
Do you want me to jump in a room or chat with you, or
Yeah, well, I would love to hear what you have to say, but if you want to go to a room, I'm not offended.
No, not at all. I'm very happy to stay with you. It's not exactly what you asked us, but I thought how how much easier this is when I'm just a participant in the room or when I'm only responsible, like I'll say, for
Mm,
myself, rather than if I'm a design facilitator or an instructor, a faculty member, right, who's the responsibility, the weight of trying to be
yeah,
totally present to and responsive to, and all the stuff, right? Versus here's all the stuff, and I
yeah,
get to be beautifully present in the moment and just like allow it to unfold for me, like the surfer or something, versus when I feel the weight of overseeing something larger and complex. Um,
yeah,
so like I feel like your examples though, like it's easier because I can use just my personal experiences or lived. Like I had a meeting with a faculty colleague. We were either going to take a walk on campus or I found a beautiful nature hiking trail that's a 5 minute drive from campus. And I wasn't sure where we
amazing.
would meet and if I could make it work. And I had just recently had a very challenging meeting on campus. And I just thought in my body, my mind, my heart, like I want to be in this space for
Mm,
everything else. Like let's meet there. And it was so beautifully like, what were we sensing? Like the sun coming down, the buds are coming out as spring emerges in North Carolina, and
yeah,
able to share everything that had just happened, but not in a way to solve it, but just to connect and allow
yeah.
like the conversation to emerge and unfold and just be present and be in. And I could
Hmm.
feel all of that more so, if that makes sense. It
Yeah.
feels like there's got to be a rawness, might not be the right word.
Well, what did you just say?
Raw,
Oh,
RAW,
rawness.
rawness.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what's so, and I could be wrong, I thought what was so beautifully present in the video you showed us was a lot of that you can see in the waves and the surfing is often kind of invisible. It's in the
It
wind,
is.
it's in the moment,
Right.
right? And this made all of that beautiful everything
Looks so
so
effortless.
that's and I wish for us, or like if and when we could stay more consciously aware that is still
Mhm.
happening, right? Energies are flowing, right? If we could, right? Like
Right.
that habitual way of being constantly present to emergence would help so much in the video you showed. So what are your thoughts? How does that fit or
Yeah.
not fit what you were trying to get at?
No, it's perfect. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing, right? It's like we can, exactly what you describe, we can call out these moments in our personal life or like non-professional life and be like, oh, yeah, I understand. But then it's that real kind of resistance or stickiness and how we try to get that into the quote unquote like real world, right? And that's something that I feel, every time that I kind of go into the water to surf, it's like, oh, I'm breathing out. Like I'm letting myself be in that state. And then going back to the beach, it's like, oh, I have to go get my tires changed. I have to go do this. I have to go do that. Like it's just completely two different worlds. And it's like, how do we merge that? Because they're not, it's an artificial, separation. So it's kind of like, yeah, I think what you were saying, if we can just first be in awareness that this exists and practice that muscle, maybe slowly but surely that can start to trickle into, how we think about. the systems and structures we're a part of. But
But one of the things I guess I can't resolve is there's this long-term tension. And you mentioned it about the wave, that the wave is coming from something that might have happened. I don't know if it was thousands of years ago, a mile,
mhm,
hundreds of thousands of miles away. This awareness of the long, deep stretch of time in
yeah,
history. And one of my concerns about sometimes the way we were talking about emergence, or the way I was interpreting what you were saying, was that it's so entirely present in this moment that our
mhm,
ability to hold
yeah,
the history and the possible futures, and the responsibility of those
yeah,
in this
totally.
space also means acting or not acting, or get,
Hmm.
that's another thing. How do you see that tension as being paradoxical or?
Yeah. I think that that really is like why the kind of pluralistic approach is so kind of helpful in connecting here, because you have to, I think, first accept that those paradoxes will always be there and you're never going to make the right choice ever. Like we're always just in this failing, trying again, failing, trying again. And like,
Oh, you need to come to the American Philosophies conferences and do this and share this. Yes, yes, yes.
yeah. And it's like we have zero grace with ourselves. Never. Like, and where there's just so much pressure to have to try to, yeah. It's kind of like, I think when I kind of realized at one point with this, what you're talking about, the contradictions of like, how do I literally like, hold all these things, especially in a place like Hawaii when you have so much layered colonialism and trauma and everything is so embedded and entangled in, the state of Hawaii kind of government versus federally versus all of these different conflicting political agendas and like making any kind of decision here is so weighted all the time that you really see these like bottlenecks in all the kinds of, processes, even in reacting to the flooding we've had the past couple weeks. Like the only thing that has been really effective is this emergent community response, this ground up, like, we're going to just do what we need to do. It's coming from an intention of goodness and, love towards each other. And all that political stuff just went away. Like it evaporated because I think we know in times of great distress and urgency, like we remember that like, oh yes, we have all the knowledge. We know how to act. We just need to act through, aloha, which is, this biggest, it's such a complex concept here. It means this, deep unconditional love, but it's also a practice and it's also, um, something that is cultivated over time. So, yeah, I don't know if that really answers what you're saying, but it's
No,
kind
it
of
was
like,
beautiful. I mean, well, it helps. That's why I think we need coalitions across difference
yeah, for
and
sure.
shared work, which is another beautiful example of, where you said you have this day. It's not a day of service, but like this day where you do like,
Yeah,
but
work days.
diverse
Hmm.
peoples come together to do work together, right? It is
Yeah,
embodied, it is relational, it is in place,
yeah,
and it is, and we have some of that here, but it's often so episodic instead of a
it
ritual,
is.
instead of this thing
You're,
that happens every
mm-hmm.
week, right? And so those
Yep,
kinds of practices and rituals are so powerful. And I also, your use of language and aloha, like I love that. And I always wish for, in like, access to words I know that are escaping me because they're not a part of the language that I was steeped in, right?
right.
And that there's ways I'm trying to access to understand. And when I had the chance to be close to where you are, like that came up a lot. And
Hmm.
but it does, it helps me come back to or stay more consciously aware of how I want to live.
Yeah, it's
When
so
I
true.
when I can grasp an image or a word or something, right? So what I also want to see in this work is recognition of the fact that I'm going to start closing the rooms.
Hmm.
Recognition of the fact that we are limited, like psychologically,
Right.
like that we have limitations, that there's reasons why our brains will overly simplify or leap, and so in recognizing that, how do we develop habits and ways of being that help us through?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I love that. Well, maybe you can offer that as a prompt when we all come back to the room, because I think that's really key, is like understanding that yes, we have these limitations
I think we're
and
all back.
there are ways to overcome them. Hi.
I think we're all back.
Are we all? I wasn't sure if every room has closed. It looks like people in room 3 are still coming back. Room
Ah,
2. I gave a
we were
60-second
pulled.
sort of warning.
Yeah, I think we were, unless I did something or, we were pulled back. So here, yeah.
But we have 3 seconds, and I think we're forcing
Mhm.
the rooms to shut. There we go. Here they come. Welcome back, everybody.
Oh.
I think Haley, I was lucky enough to have some conversations with Haley as well. We had our own paired share, and we ended by reflecting on recognizing that in this work we're going to struggle forward, and that there's a way of failing forward that's beautiful, and recognizing the limitations of what our brains can do as we try to adapt and evolve. And she asked if I would just share that with the group, so I'm throwing it out there, and then I was going to let Haley, you pick it up.
Yeah, maybe if anyone kind of resonated with Danielle's reflections here. And yeah, if you want to just share some of your thoughts that you guys discussed.
I'm sorry, Haley. Can you repeat what Danielle said? Because I was just trying to get back into what we could share.
Yeah, in a nutshell, basically around like how do we hold this kind of complexity around we have limitations, right? And what we can really do and engage emergently, pluralistically. Our brains, each of our brains work on a certain way. We've been trained certain ways, right? And that unlearning, relearning, adaptive learning process is just going to have a lot of failure in the moment and like in that naturally. So, kind of like, how do we work with that and leverage that? And, having grace with ourselves as we engage in this process. So, yeah, just kind of more of a reflection around, grappling with those limitations. So, if anyone had thoughts specifically around that they wanted to piggyback on, or if you want to pivot in a different direction, all are valid and welcomed.
I think I can share what I shared with Christina Lamore. I mean, both of us had a very nice conversation. We laughed, and it was nice to talk to someone else. And in life, we have gone through different moments, but the key areas that I'm trying to condense or label, it was being aware of our environment. So, for example, in my life, I used to dance, so I had to be aware of other people, because if not, I can make someone fall. Another one that I liked that Christina mentioned was having the intention of being present. Like when she used to walk around, she could get different like feelings from her different walks. Like she could see different areas. So I really liked that, like she could appreciate different situations, even though the walks could be the same. Then another one we talked was about commitment. And it's like being committed to others. Like, how can you be responsible to help others?
Yeah.
And then we ended up talking about principles and messages. So, what do you have within you, like your values, your principles that you can share? So, I think that's Christina can mention more if she would like to, but those are the bullet points. I got from our conversation.
Yeah, no, I just, Astrid, I just love this like commitment. I just love because you named that, you nailed that. Like just that this work requires commitment to others, commitment to ourselves,
Mhm.
commitment. And I love the strength of that. So I appreciate, thank you for that gift today. Appreciate that.
Yeah, amazing. It really is. It's that persistence over time. Anyone else want to share a few more thoughts? I know we only have 5 minutes left, and I wanted to also give you a little activity to do in between now and the next session. But any other kind of brief reflections?
I was with Leticia,
Oh,
and
okay, great. Go
I'm
ahead.
I was with Leticia, and I thought it was really interesting because Leticia was talking about the teams that she works with, and when they are doing or practicing this adaptive attunement, it feels like, or it is play, and there's lots of humor. So it just reminded me often of like children who are always learning and playing, and how play has a lot of that listening and responding, and that maybe we're kind of born doing this naturally, and we lose it a lot in some of our societies.
I think that is absolutely true. It's something we've always known, and it's kind of finding ways to get it back. Yeah, I really resonate with that. Any other short reflections? Hey, oh, Ella?
I was just gonna say, just to maybe reflection on Victor and Letitia's that sort of came from ours as well as um, just the role that expectations have in that,
Mm-hmm.
um, and when things, I mean, the children don't have them because they haven't seen how things might be. And so they kind of come in with a blank slate that might really help that. And how much of the
Mm-hmm.
conversation we had was about the expectations that you do or don't have in a situation that enables or hinders.
Yes, absolutely. It's really like this constant adjustment of like, okay, what do I expect to happen? What are my assumptions around those expectations? Why do I even assume that this is or should not be? So it's like, yeah, really unpacking all the layers behind that. Um, well, this has been wonderful to connect with you all, and I wanted to just share if anyone feels compelled, um, yeah, to just kind of help us practice this a bit more in our day to day. Well, if I can share the screen. Yes, share. No?
We do see your screen saying
Oh,
practicing adaptive attunement.
oh, wonderful. Thank you. Um, awesome. So I just couldn't see it. Great. So I can put this in the notes as well, that we'll distribute. But I just thought it could be nice to take this time to kind of in your own life over the next month in between now and the next session, to spend time in a place you feel really connected to and you think you know really well. And then try to often like visit this place a couple times, at least, once a week, and try to be there present for 20 minutes at least, not necessarily doing anything, but just trying to practice, different plural ways of engaging with that place. So maybe it's drawing, maybe it's writing, maybe it's just sitting there and noticing. Maybe it's talking to someone who passes by while you're there. And just try to think about kind of what draws your attention and kind of your relationship with that place may shift over time. Because, Danielle and I were talking a lot about this, how do we hold the tension between the past, the long histories, all the complexities that require us to be able to make decisions about something, weaving all those past complexities together while staying present in this emergent reality. So there's that kind of tension, right? So maybe you can kind of play that out a little bit in this place that you think you know really well. You already have a history there. And then notice how your perceiving of that place might change through the different modalities, through just noticing. So be creative, and we can talk about it in the next session.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank Haley for her generosity, for her time and her willingness to share her experiences and her recommendations. And I'm excited. I already have some beautiful ideas about how to live that and do that and to come back next time. In addition to Haley coming back on April 24th, we're also going to be inviting Rafe. And he's going to be talking about metacognition and how that plays a role in design thinking, learning, and with generative AI. So we'll be talking with Haley and then shifting to talk with Rafe as well. And I want to thank all of you for your time today. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Haley.
Thanks so much. Great to see you all, and have a great Friday. As we say here, Aloha Friday. Bye.